Drydon, and I currently teach at Forest Lake State School, which is in the western suburbs of Brisbane. It's a big school. We've got, well, it's not huge, it's 900 kids. So we've got about 5 drafts of each year level, and I only work part-time because I have 3 children. And although that part-time has crept up and now it's 4 days a week, so look, it's almost full-time, frankly. So I don't teach the whole school, but I tend to roll up my grades. So if I have grade 1 this year, I'll have them as grade 2s next year, and I try and keep my kids throughout school, so they're not chopping and changing teachers. So we're in a really good position at my school because we're a one-to-one iPad school. So most of our students, probably 3/4 of our students, have their own device that they bring to school every day and use every day. So they're already familiar with the function. So once this all started, we decided that we just needed to use that as our main function. So that's been a really good thing for us because it means that all our kids really have no excuse. They're all engaged, and those kids who didn't have a device at home, our school has lent one too. So all of our kids can be online. So because of that, our school decided our main platform would be Seesaw. Now Seesaw is something that a lot of the kids were familiar with, but not all of them. Some classes used it and others didn't. And it's not something I was familiar with, although I'd used it, you know, little tiny bits. I'd looked at it and I'd used it from the parents' side because my son's school uses it as well. And I'd always been really keen to use it, except the prospect of setting up my 600 students on Seesaw was the barrier for me. And I just never quite got around to that. So now someone else set them up for me, and we have a paid account at our school. So I'm attached to every class, including all the instrumental classes. So I'm attached to 31 classes, which is fabulous. And I just turned off all my notifications so I don't see everything they post, because there's something like 30,000 things already on our school Seesaw account. So I'm really glad I didn't have those notifications. So that's our main platform that we've used. And look, I have to say, for me, it was a learning curve to start with, and it still is. There's obviously functionality that I'm not using, but that's how it is with all programs, isn't it? As you go along, you learn more, and it's only when you have a need to do something that you learn how to do it. But as part of that, I have used a plethora of other things that have linked into Seesaw. So Seesaw is our way of contacting the children, but then we can send them other places through Seesaw as well. So I thought I made a little list of the things that I've used. So here's my list. You ready? Nearpod, which I'm going to talk about later, which is my discovery of the time. I found it really useful. PowerPoint, which is I've used as a base for other platforms and saving as a video and things like that. YouTube, I've used a lot of other people's YouTube videos, but I've also created my own YouTube channel just last week because I was starting to feel the limitation of size of videos. So I thought, oh, well, this is the way to do it. And I have to say that was the easiest thing of all. I've done explicit lessons using videos and screen recorded from my iPad using screen record, but also from this program on my laptop, which is just a download, free download called Bandicam, B-A-N-D-I, Cam, which has been fabulous as well. Just means you can screen record really simply from your laptop. And I prefer working from my laptop than from my iPad, just because all my files and all my images and everything is just all there, and it's just a bit easier for me, probably because I use it more often. Also used Zoom, not to have conversations with students, but I've used the Zoom recording feature, because when you record on Zoom, the recording is a really small file size. It's about 1/8 of the size of many other things that I looked at. And so for me, in the early days when I wasn't using YouTube especially, that file size, that was fabulous. It meant I could have a much longer video. And of course you lose a little bit in quality, but it was good enough quality for what I was doing. So, you know, that was fabulous. All you do is start a meeting with yourself, which is fabulous. meeting participants 1 and push record, and then it just saves it as onto your computer. And so then there you go, it's ready to go. Saves as an MP4, but also as an MP3 if you just want the audio. So I found that really useful. A few other things I've used are Bitmoji. So I could make my own little Bitmoji, and I just did that on my phone. Look, the snipping tool is my best friend in everything I do. If you haven't discovered the snipping tool, you must Google that. That will change your world. I've also used a lot of non-tech things that I already had. Of course, all my regular teaching stuff I've used as I could. Some things that have been really useful to me just for images and some little videos and things are the C2C units. And, you know, as one of the writers for C2C, I know them really well. So I know where to go to find little bits and pieces. So that was useful. And I've also used the ASME Queensland DVDs, not the videos, but the resources, and taken lots of snips of things like pictures and scores and all things like that that I can shove into my lessons. So I guess when this first started, I thought, really, what are my main goals through this online learning period? And of course, we didn't know how long it was going to be then. And my main goal initially was connection with my children, to maintain that connection so they could see my face and hear my voice, so that we could maintain that connection. Even though initially I probably wasn't hearing theirs, but I have got a lot of videos from them along the way as well. And that was sort of really strongly put at our school, that was going to be really important for our kids. So, so that's been really lovely. Also, the continuity of learning. I really wanted to maintain the skills that they had. We know that over Christmas we lose, you know, we go back a bit, and this is really the same amount of time as over the Christmas holidays. So I really wanted to maintain their level of skill, even if I couldn't progress it a lot, knowing that some children would engage more than others. I'm going to have to go over stuff when we go back, and that's okay. But the main group of kids will have progressed, hopefully. So yeah, I wanted to be able to, when we return, hit the ground running with assessment, which, you know, is going to have to be in the next couple of weeks here in Queensland anyway. So my main music goals were to have some singing each week, some rhythmic work, some melodic work. And then I guess with different year levels, year 5, we were going to be doing glockenspiels this term, and that was never going to happen. So out the window, and I got some pen drumming going instead, using Kaboom Percussion's pen drumming unit, which has been fabulous, and I can just slot their videos in as YouTube links, and that's been really fantastic. And the kids have engaged really well with it, which is great. Year 2, I was particularly concerned about, because they had just, like, literally the week before learnt So and Me, and I really wanted them I didn't want to have to reteach all that. So I wanted to progress that a little bit and just to consolidate that as well. Year 1s were about to, literally, it couldn't have been a worse time. Literally the next week we're about to learn Tar and TT, and I thought, no, I'm not going there. We'll just solidify those beat and rhythm skills and keep going. My preps, that was easy, singing and beat, and lots of it. That was great. So I guess going more into the platforms, Seesaw is really, I'm going to keep using it when we return, because it's great for individual assessment. And as I said, now that my school set me up, that's, you know, that was my hurdle, which was one I could have overcome, I am sure. But, you know, there's so many hurdles around everywhere. So I'll show you a couple of things that I did. I'm going to do the screen sharing thing, so just bear with me while I do that. And find my screen and share with sound. Okay, hold on, that one though. Here we go. Okay, so, feel free to interrupt me along the way. If you have a question, Rachel, you might have to butt in, or I don't know how you want to work that. But feel free to do so.
Sure. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. But it's probably a small enough group that if you just turn your microphone on and wave at Deb, then she should be right to see you.
Yeah. So this is my year 2 task. I did an explicit lesson on So and Me again, and on where they live on the staff. And then this was an activity. Now this is an activity that I have on paper in their workbooks anyway, and I just took a snip of it and popped it in Seesaw. So then they were able to do these. Can you see my pointer when I move it? No, yes? Yes, okay, good, because I don't want to be moving it for no reason. So that these blue dots anyway, they just do that with a pen and just plop it on. And for me, as a music teacher with 600 students, which, you know, is most of our situation, it's been great for me to be able to give individual feedback to children that I don't always have time to do. So that's been really positive for me on Seesaw, that, you know, those kids like this who get it right, okay, that's easy. It's just a great, you know, good work, good, you know, staff work or whatever it is. But for those kids who haven't, it's, you know, able to, I guess, give that little bit more of individual feedback, which I've really enjoyed. So here's a grade 1 activity that I did. They can record their voice, and if they are also using their pen or their finger as a pen, then it shows up when they point to the beat. So have a look at this.
Feet, 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 going down and up the street. Big feet, little feet, come by me.
And so I can see, you know, whether their beat pointing is accurate and whether they're on the beat. And that's been really fabulous. I know, you know, doing that in a classroom, it's hard to see each child, and, you know, you have to do so many repeats to get it. But, you know, this evidence it's fabulous. So things like that have been I've really appreciated. So then last week I moved on to YouTube, as I said, but this is basically just a screen recording of my PowerPoint slide. You can see the Bandicam logo, I guess, at the top of it there, because I use Bandicam and I'm just using the free version. So I'll full screen it and just show you a little bit of what I did. Hi, you two. Let's think about our SOFA, our so's and me's. What do we know about so and me? So is higher than me. So and me are copycats when we write them on the staff. If so's on a line, me's on a line. They like to copy each other. So and me are a skip apart. Let's see if we can read these together. Have a look. Okay, so you get the idea. Anyway, it just goes through, you know, some different, we can echo sing together. And I was just pointing to the different beats. That's why they turned green, pointing to them as I sang. And then talking about the contour, and I sang I sang one of these 3, and they had to work out which one it was. So it's a bit of oral skill and assessment along the way there. And then they wrote down their answers and submitted them to me. So Nearpod's the main thing that I sort of wanted to talk about today. Oh, you're all sitting on my screen just over where my controls are. I have to move you out of the way, sorry. So when Nearpod, is there anyone who's used Nearpod in the past? No. Okay, so this was new to me as well. This is great because the kids don't actually need the app to use this. You send them a code, and then they just go on to nearpod.com and put in the 5-letter code, and this is what comes up on their screen when they do that. So then they just put their name in, and I've just told my students to put their first name and their class, and they join the session.
Deb,
So,
Belinda's got a question.
Oh yes, Belinda.
And that's ASME Queensland doesn't block that site?
No.
That's fantastic, because they can't use YouTube, hey?
Well, look, it depends on your school. My school hasn't said that at all, so I'm running with it. And I've got YouTube clips within my Nearpods, and our school's happy with that. So
I'd very much say that there's differences between department schools.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not a blanket.
it's not, no, principals very much making their own decisions,
Yeah.
because there's things that some people say are blocked and other people say aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah. So, I have to move you again. All your faces keep getting in the way. Here we go. Sorry, I have to minimize you. So, look, I recorded. I'll have to play my little.
Welcome to Mrs. Drydon's music room.
Which I was very proud of. That was my holiday job. And so they just progress through, and each one of them has got a video in it that I make. Hello. Saying hello to everyone and telling them what's coming up this week. Then there's just my PowerPoint slides basically, but also I've audio recorded them, especially look, this is a year 5 one, so it's not so important, but for the preps 1s and 2s, we wanted it to be as independent as possible. So I audio recorded the instructions. I've included
Parents everywhere are very appreciative of your efforts to make that independent, Deb.
I totally hear that. I have a year 2 child who sits next to me many days at the moment, and I'm appreciating any independent work as well. So I included a look, a simple YouTube clip from Crescendo that's got some echo clapping in it. And this is all about rondo. So we talked about rondo form, and then I wanted them to create their own rondo, and that's what they did in response in Seesaw. Moved on to some pen drumming. I'm just going to flick through this because the content's not really what's important here. More YouTube clips, learning our new pattern, more YouTube clips, and the full performance of YouTube clips. And then, so the thing that I like about Nearpod is there are inbuilt questions. So the kids can answer the question that I've set up, and then I get a report that has each person's name and how they did in each question. Or it also gives me a summary. If I'm just wanting to get a general idea of how's the class going with this, it gives me the summary as well. That's great data. So, they just click on whatever they think and submit it. And that's been useful data, especially things like that, just that self-evaluation of how they think they're going. And, often they're not as accurate as I may be when I'm looking at how they're going, but there's a lot of importance in how they feel they're going as well. So that's been really good. And then most weeks I had some sort of fun thing to sort of finish off with, a bit of line rider and in the Hall of the Mountain King, with some reflection questions at the end as well. Well, there he is. And then finishing with the goodbye and, a little summary. And as I said, they're all recorded. So actually saying goodbye to everyone. Got my little Bitmoji going on there. And so that's Nearpod. To make them is really simple. All you need is a PowerPoint, and you drop it in. And then you can add in, so I'll just go in here and create a lesson really. Look, this is not a tutorial on it, but it's very user-friendly, and I basically taught myself. So it's just drag and drop your PowerPoint in, but once you put it in, you can't edit it. So one thing I've really learned through this whole time is, about making sure that I'm really clear about what I'm doing before I go ahead and actually make it. I've thought through all those steps. Otherwise, I have to, make another page and drop that in, which is not the end of the world anyway. But you can also add web content, so you can add in the YouTube clips, and you can also add in audios and videos of your own. So with my lower grades, I videoed myself singing a singing story to them and popped them in as well in here. So I found it really great. And then, of course, you can do the interactives, add an activity. A quiz like I did, you can do matching pairs where they have to drag things to the right place, open-ended questions, and just a poll, fill in the blanks. I found good. Look, the first week we did Anzac Day, and so I was trying to make it fairly simple on myself and just put up the national anthem with some missing words, and that's what the fill in the blank is. It's really a very easy thing to do, not a highly musical activity though, but you know, you do what you have to do in the first week, I say. Does anyone have any questions about Nearpod?
I just have one question. This is because I did, after talking to you about Nearpod, I went and had a look at it. And this is the paid version. So your school's adopted Nearpod, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The free version, you can still create all the things and you can share your creation, but you can't launch it for the children.
Right.
So you can't get a code. So that's I guess the limitation. But the people who are using it at the other end don't have to have anything, just a internet, that's all. So yeah, I found that useful. And look, I think even if my school wasn't doing it, it would be something that I would subscribe to. Just for those things like those feedback polls, I think it could be really useful for assessment. You know, the multiple choice type questions, if you have those things, it's all marked for you and it's there in a report. So
and what year levels what year levels did you use Nearpod down to?
Prep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Prep to 5, which is my highest grade that I have. I don't have the 6s this year. Yeah, so all they have to do is click through. It's easy. And our kids, you can get a Nearpod app as well, so that you don't have to go to Internet Explorer or whatever. You just pop in the code
And
in
Deb,
the app. So yeah, and it's a free app. Yeah.
Deb, when you put in the questionnaires and the match the word, is that separate to your PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can move things around. So you pop your PowerPoint in and then you can move pages around. You just can't adjust the actual page itself. So then I can create, you know, I can add a video and I can drag it up to be on page 2 in between page 1 and 3 on my PowerPoint or whatever it is. Yeah. I'll show you the reports here as well. I'm hoping that all my students just use their first name. Anyone doesn't.
I got a little bit fancy with the YouTube edit, with the iMovie editing to remove any student names if required before I upload it to YouTube.
Okay. Oh, look at you go. There shouldn't be any here anyway. They were really using their first names. But I can just see there that, you know, a quarter, so this is week 2. So a quarter of them had skipped the question. So then once I saw that in week 3, I was a bit more explicit about you need to answer the questions in this and please make sure you push submit, because if they just answer the question then scroll to the next page, it doesn't record it. So yeah. So anyway, look, some children like to a bit crazy with emojis. So we can see how much, how they went, and I can then go on to, oh, what was it, a poll? No. Yes, a poll. Here we go. How did you think you went with pen drumming? And I can get the data there, see how they felt. So, you know, most of them are feeling pretty good. Some of them no answer, so I'll ignore that. A couple a bit tricky. And then, you know, this one here who it was really hard. So I could go through and find that student. And that's basically my Nearpod.